Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 2022 St. Thomas the Apostle Catholic School Upper School Open House. I recognize a couple of the names and faces, so some of you kind of already heard this from the earlier open house meetings today, but my name is Chris Ross. I'm the Director of Communications here at St. Thomas. I also have a student in first grade and second grade, and I have a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old who will be future St. Thomas students as well. Sending my kids to St. Thomas was one of the best decisions that I ever made as a parent. It's a huge blessing in our lives. I've seen my children grow in curiosity and wonder, in faith and in joy. Every single day, they're excited to go to school. Sometimes they're not always excited to wake up early, but they're always excited to go to school and do the actual learning. So thank you so much for joining us today, for taking the time. We're going to be playing some video clips that'll give you a look into the classrooms and to give you a look at each of our teachers' teaching philosophies. So some of those videos, when you play videos over Zoom, might be a slight bit choppy, but we'll be sending out higher resolution versions of those videos after the meeting as well. So yeah, we're going to play a few of these video clips. We're then going to open it up to Q&A. We're going to get started with a video from our pastor here at St. Thomas, Father Bill Ashbaugh. So let me get that video all set for you. And here we go.
I'd like to welcome all of you to St. Thomas the Apostle Classical Catholic School Open House. My name is Father Bill Ashbaugh. I'm really blessed to be the pastor here at St. Thomas the Apostle School and Parish. And it's one of my favorite ministries, the school. I just love seeing the kids grow and the joy that's in them. We celebrate Mass every day here, and the noon Mass in the particular ways, we have the children join us for that parish-wide noon Mass. And the kids, that's one of my favorite Masses because the kids' hands go right up when I begin the homily. They want to participate, ask questions, why? When I talk about something, they'll, what does that mean, Father? And there's always this sense of wonder in them, wanting to know, wanting to hear the good news in a sense, and to learn more about our faith. And that's primarily the mission of every Catholic school, that we're here to help the children come to know how much they're loved by God, that they're made beautiful in God's image and likeness, that we are here to help them follow Jesus as they grow up, and to discover the wonder, the truth, the beauty that God has filled the whole world with. This is really the essence of a classical Catholic education. We recognize that all the subjects are connected by God himself, that all learning will lead us back to the ultimate truth of God, who God is. So we really do hope that you'll take a look at our school and consider it for your own child. Our legacy here goes all the way back to 1868. We've been here ever since. We certainly want you to enjoy this open house and take part in it. And we'd love to have your children come to St. Thomas the Apostle Classical Catholic School. May God bless you.
All right, so that was Father Bill Ashbaugh, our pastor here at St. Thomas. And now I'd like to turn it over to our headmaster, Mr. Tim DeLaura, who'd like to say a few words about St. Thomas and our educational philosophy here. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome, everyone. First of all, I have the pride and pleasure of being able to introduce our upper school staff. Being a classical educator is a calling. It's part of the movement of what I believe the Holy Spirit is doing in Catholic education in particular. And these teachers have stepped forward and are being instruments of the Lord's work right now in creating an environment where children are able to experience an education that is really aligned to who they are as human persons, and not an empty vessel, not a blank slate into which you can pour whatever is expedient at that time, but rather to understand them as coming to our classrooms, an image and the likeness of God, hungry to encounter that original after which they are an image. And so These teachers have responded to that call, to that invitation. They're, they carry with, they teach in the sense that teaching has always been more deeply understood as being a witness, something that they themselves have experienced, learned, and they are passing that on. They are sharing something that is personal to them. And that passion, that love, that joy is what makes a classical classroom a very special place here at St. Thomas. So Mr. Bryce Snyder is our fifth grade teacher. He teaches all subjects to those fifth grade students. We have then in science and math, we have our Miss Block, who is actually teaching all of our science, but then our seventh grade math and one group of our eighth graders. And then along with that math program, we have Mr. Don Stokes, who's teaching the sixth grade and the eighth grade math. And then we have our English and history professor who teaches sixth, seventh, and eighth grade math. And she is an example of that witnessing, where students are experiencing an invitation to enter into, to own for themselves, and to live out what they have learned. So we're grateful for all of our teachers for the gift of their witnessing what they have received from the Lord, and now what they want to pass on to others. So giving thanks for them. And I've been asked often enough, so what is a classical Catholic education? And it's actually not that easy to share. It's because classical education is really not a process. It's not a method. It's a culture. And so in a school setting, a culture is constituted by what you teach, how you teach it, and why you teach it. And in all of our classrooms, we're able to live out this call to bring to the child this a response to their natural hunger to encounter the good, the true, and the beautiful that they are seeking naturally. And in all of our classrooms, in whatever subject it may be, there is a desire to be able to be this witness of God's glory in the classroom. Whatever subject it might be, reading, math, nature studies, history, and in all of the specials, in choir, art, Latin, which is a required class beginning in fifth grade. And so we have this beautiful content that is really the revelation of God's divinity in his created world. And then the how we teach is governed by questioning, where we don't set a particular goal and charge a student to achieve it and assess a student to see whether they've achieved it or not, where education sort of becomes a process. Rather, education is meant to be an experience. And so the key pedagogical practice in a classical classroom is questioning and being able to elicit a child's curiosity, prior knowledge, to bring them into that place where they're actually needing to become comfortable with not knowing the answer right away. And a teacher's work then is to guide them, facilitate them in being able to acquire new learning, blend it with what they already know to then be able to answer that question. And there's a certain joy and sense of achievement in being able to do that. And then the why is looking at, again, who a child is ultimately having this innate hunger. And so we what we do ultimately is to lead a child to our Lord and have everything that they learn in class be a means to that end, equipping them to be able to uh, be led themselves and ultimately to lead others to Him. So each of our teachers have answered that call, and they're working very hard to do that. It's a joy, though. We all share it together, and we're working together to be able to do that better all the time. But the Holy Spirit is at work, and I think that is clear, for example, in our enrollment, in what we're accomplishing in our upper school students. And we're glad you're here to learn more about it.
Yes, and for those of you just joining us, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come here and learn more about St. Thomas School. So what we're going to do next is play a couple of video clips from each of our upper school teachers that'll give you a look into their curriculum and into their classrooms. Then we're going to open it up for Q&A time after that. So let's get started with a video from 5th grade. So this is from Mr. Snyder's classroom.
Hello, everybody. I am Bryce Snyder, the 5th grade homeroom teacher here in the upper school. And so here are a couple of things to just give you a little bit of a taste of what 5th grade is like here. And so, well, for one thing, here in the 5th grade, we do make that transition to a more full part of the upper school with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade as well. We have our own lockers. We will be transitioning between specials as well, and going to mass 4 days a week. It's wonderful to see the upper school and the 5th graders especially being able to be a part of the life of the church in that very real way, in the mass as the source and summit of the Christian life. And it's great to be able to see them experience that almost every single day while here at school. And that Catholic journey, that Catholic faith that we all share, is an essential part of who we are as a school and who we are as people. And so a little bit more specific to 5th grade, and like the rest of the school, we do cover the Institute for Excellence in Writing for our composition and writing class. And so you can see one of the posters up here with it for our dress ups. It is a wonderful curriculum. I absolutely enjoy and adore having a excellent writing curriculum, and because I get to see excellent writing in my students because of how well laid out and how well thought out this method of teaching writing and learning writing is. And it's been amazing to be a part of that process for my students throughout the entire year, learning new structures and new ways to express ourselves in writing. And so then to coincide with that, we also study some of the great books and great literature. We get to read Narnia and Heidi and all sorts of other great books here in the 5th grade. In 5th grade history, we cover ancient history. And to coincide with that study of ancient history, we also get to have the privilege of reading the children's Homer, which is a fabulous adaptation of Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey, those two foundational pieces of literature. Here we have it in the Western tradition that people have cherished for thousands of years now. And being able to teach that here in 5th grade is just a wonderful opportunity that I really cherish. And then also for 5th grade, we are studying math with the dimensions Dimensions Math, fifth grade, 5A and 5B. And Dimensions is a math curriculum based off of the Singapore style mathematics. And for any Singapore-esque or Singapore style method of teaching mathematics, we really want to focus on a student's conceptual understanding of whatever math concept we're studying. And so for like long division, we want to know whether or not a student understands long division conceptually. It's like, what's actually going on with these numbers, and being able to, in a way, play with those numbers, and being able to, what happens if I swap this number for this number, or what happens if how does the formula change if I do it in this order rather than that order, and really understanding a deeper understanding of the underlying mathematics rather than just memorizing a certain formula. And that method of understanding is something that bleeds to all of the subjects, be it in math, science, history, literature, writing, and getting to those deeper understanding. And that's one of the great things about what we get to be able to do here. And so I look forward to talking to all of you later, and have a wonderful evening.
All right. So that was a look into our fifth grade curriculum here. The next video that's going to come up here is from Miss Elizabeth Block, who is going to give us a look into her class's curriculum as well. So I'll get that video all loaded up here for you. All right. Here you go.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Block, and I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade nature studies, as well as 6th and 7th grade faith formation, and 7th grade math, along with 8th grade algebra 1/2. So this is my second year teaching here at St. Thomas the Apostle Catholic School. And I'm really excited to share with you what I love about St. Thomas, and a little bit of what I teach here. So I'd like to start with nature studies. So this is an example of a unit of nature studies here at St. Thomas. We use the FOSS science curriculum. So this is a student text. What I love about teaching FOSS is we get to do a lot of hands-on activities, which I will insert some footage of at the end of my presentation here. So this is what the textbook looks like for Earth history. I love teaching Earth history. I actually have a degree in geology from Penn State. In nature studies, students are responsible for keeping up their science notebook. So their science notebook is a really good way to teach them organization skills, the scientific method. They have a table of contents in their science notebooks. They have a glossary in the back. They're asked to record observations during an experiment, record their procedures, and it's really good practice for them. I teach both Spirit of Truth and Theology of the Body. So with Spirit of Truth, one of my favorite things that I have students do is memorize scripture verses. So they have the opportunity to memorize scripture verses and present them to the class. And it's just really beautiful to see them exercise that skill and use it for God's glory. I also am so proud to be a part of a school that teaches theology of the body. I thoroughly enjoy teaching this class, and I think it is very important for them to learn, especially at this age. It's a beautiful curriculum. This is the text that I use for teaching math. This is Algebra 1/2, and it's Saxon. My favorite thing about teaching here at St. Thomas School is the students, the community, and that we're Christ-centered. So we begin every class with a prayer. Students go to Mass almost every day. And adoration on Fridays. And it's just a really, really beautiful, faithful community.
Hello. Today, we are conducting an experiment to measure the amount of carbon dioxide made by mixing citric acid, sodium bicarbonate, and 100 milliliters of water. So to start out, we shall add 2 milliliters of sodium bicarbonate, there we go, to the glass container.
Then we will take 2 milliliters of the citric acid and put it into the 100 milliliters of water.
Mix the citric acid with the water until it's dissolved. While we do that, Stas, will you please put the cap on? And we put this cap on so no carbon dioxide escapes from the syringe. And that looks dissolved enough.
We'll take 2 milliliters of the solution.
Press down firm and press down with the cap. And there it goes. 20, 22, 23, 24.
24 milliliters.
24 milliliters of carbon dioxide.
All right. So there's a look into our science department here at St. Thomas as well. That was awesome to see. So the next video is going to be a look into our mathematics department. So this is a video that Mr. Don Stokes put together here. Get that shared and set up for you. And then if anyone had just joined us, we're going to play 2 more videos that are going to be a look into our upper school classrooms and teachers' curriculums. And then after that, we're going to move over into our Q&A session. So here is a video from Mr. Don Stokes.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. I'm Don Stokes. I'm the new math teacher. Let me take my coat off and then I'll show you around. So here's our whiteboard. This is where we start class. So when the students come in, they take their seats, and we always start the day with a prayer. So if we have time, I take prayer requests, and then we pray. When we're done with that, we always have something called a warm-up exercise. So here's one from earlier this week. So while the students are taking a minute or two to do the warm-up exercise, they've already got their homework out on their desk, so I can come by and pick it up. And I really like the warm-up exercise because I pick a topic that maybe I'm not too sure if they all understand it, and that's a tool for me to know if there's something else that I need to be stressing. I teach 6th grade math and 8th grade algebra here. This is the book that we use for 6th grade math. It's the Dimensions math book. So there's a part A and a part B. Part A was used for the first half of the year. We're starting part B tomorrow on Monday. This book is broken up into chapters and sections. There's a lot of colored graphics and things like that in this book. There's also a workbook that goes along with it that's consumable. They can do their work right in this book. 8th grade's a little different. For 8th grade algebra, we use this book from Saxon. And it's interesting because it doesn't have chapters. It just has one lesson after another. It starts with 1, 2, 3 and goes on to the end of the book. Now, the interesting thing about this book is the problem sets at the end of each lesson don't just have questions for that topic. They have questions that go all the way back to topics from the beginning of the book. So there's constant review with this book. The nice thing about math is when you arrive at an answer, you can be 100% certain that it's correct as long as you've made true statements in your work. And that's not true in a lot of subjects, like when you write an English paper. Maybe your teacher didn't have the same opinions you did, and so you didn't get the grade you'd hoped for. But that's not the case with math, so I hope they like it for that reason. Another thing that happens in math class is I will show one solution, and I show that solution because it works in all cases, but sometimes students want to make an optimization because of that problem. And they'll say, well, couldn't you just do it this way, and go on to explain it? And I love it when that happens because it shows one of the beauties of math, that there are many different ways to solve a problem. And as long as you make true statements in your work, the answer you arrive at, you can be certain that it's correct. And that's not true of a lot of subjects. So anyway, I try to make math as fun as I can for the students, and I hope they agree that it is fun. So thank you very much for taking time to visit with me, and I hope to see you soon. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this tour of the classroom. Oh my gosh, I gotta get home. I'll talk to you later. God bless.
All right, so that was a look into our math class here in the upper school. Now we have one final video before we move on to our Q&A session. So this is this all set up here. All right, so this is a video from Aaron Morrissey. This is the final video before we go into Q&A. I think one or two other people just joined us during that last video. Thank you so much for joining us for the St. Thomas Upper School Open House this year. Thank you for taking time out of your day. If you missed any of the videos, don't worry. All of these videos will be shared after the Zoom meeting is over as well. So they'll be available to you if you wanted to watch those in whole as well. All right, so let me get this last video going here. All right, here we go.
Hello, my name is Erin Morrissey, and I am the upper school English, history, and 8th grade religion teacher here at St. Thomas. And today I'm just going to take you on a quick tour of my classroom and tell you a little bit about the things that happen inside this classroom. So right behind me, you can see that we have our Angel House point tracking system. Here at St. Thomas, we have angel houses. The students are grouped into different archangels, and they compete with one another to practice showing virtue in their daily lives, in the classroom, when at mass, on the playground, interacting with one another, interacting with their teachers. And so we have a tracking system to kind of motivate the students to really put into practice the idea that we ask them to live a life of virtue. Specifically this term, we are asking the students to practice being decorous and living a life of decorum. So that's our virtue this term. We just started a new term. So earlier this week, the students and I brainstormed some concrete ways that they could practice decorum in their daily lives. And we've promise to hold one another accountable in recognizing and honoring that, and just praising the life of virtue and lifting that up in all of the students here. So that's this side of the room. Moving over to this board right here, we've got our poem of the week or weeks. So each week, I will choose a new poem related to the literature or the history that we are exploring at this time. And I'll ask the students to memorize that and recite it at the end of the week. And specifically this week, we memorized "O Captain, My Captain" by Walt Whitman. My 8th graders are studying Romanticism, so of course we had to look at the classic romantic poet. Moving over to this side of the room, right here we have a timeline which integrates both our religion and our history curriculum. So a lot of the times I think that students struggle to integrate the church history with the history of the world at that time. And so I've combined our religion and our history curriculums to show the students in a really concrete way how the church influences world history and how world history has impacted the church throughout the ages. So our 6th and 7th grade history curriculum covers from the early church through the Middle Ages, and our 8th grade curriculum picks up right after that from the Enlightenment up till modern day. And so our timeline covers from 500 AD all the way up until modern day, and we're adding to that throughout the year. Our history textbook is from the Catholic Textbook Project. Our middle school uses or our upper school uses Light to the Nations as our textbook for history. We also use Spirit of Truth as our religion textbook. We also cover some theology of the body as well, which is definitely my favorite religion curriculum to teach. Definitely something that would have been so beneficial for me when I was in middle school. And then at the back of the classroom here, we have a magnificent character chart of Hamlet. And that character chart we are going to start using this week. We are starting Hamlet with my 8th graders. And so at the end of this week, we are going to audition for parts, and they're going to perform different parts of Hamlet in class to really understand the beauty of Shakespeare and why Shakespeare is such an incredible playwright, why people have loved him throughout the ages. That is a question that I try to focus on a lot in my teaching, is why do we read this? What can we learn from it? So with the 8th graders, we read Hamlet and we talked about what we could learn. We're going to talk about what we can learn from Hamlet and his focus on the analytical, on his focus and the emotional side of things, the interplay between those two things and the struggle that happens when we don't find unity between those two things. We also read The Hound of the Baskervilles earlier this year, and we talked about very similar things with that novel, how the world wants us to be very analytical, but sometimes there are mysteries that we just can't understand. And that's actually a really beautiful thing because Christ can speak to us through those mysteries. Don't want to leave the 6th and 7th graders out. For the literature curriculum in 6th and 7th grade, I taught The Hobbit earlier this year, and I'm about to start teaching The Bronze Bow to those students. And in both of those novels, I am working to help the students understand something called the hero's journey, which is a classic literary trope that teaches the students the progression that a hero will take in a fictional novel. Now we looked at fantasy, and now we're going to look at historical fiction a little bit more. But the hero's journey is a really beautiful trope in that it mimics very closely with the life, death, and resurrection of Christ. And so the students and I have been able to discuss why that story speaks to people across the times of literature, why that story keeps getting repeated, what in our hearts makes us desire to hear that story again and again and again. So that's just a little brief overview of this classroom and what kinds of things are taught in this classroom. I'm happy to go into more detail about this curriculum and into more detail about how I teach this curriculum. Thank you for watching.
All right. So big thank you to all of our teachers for putting together those videos and giving insight into their curriculum, their teaching philosophy, their teaching approach, all of that. So now at this time, we'd love to open it up to Q&A. So if anybody here has any questions, feel free to shout them out. And also teachers, if you have anything you wanted to add to those videos, feel free to jump in with that as well. So any questions? All right.
Chris, can I ask a question of our teachers?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So what do you find our students, how do you find our students responding to what you're teaching? You've shared, you know, all of you have shared some beautiful examples. So what do you see in your students?
I'd be happy to start that off. I really love answering this question because I think oftentimes English is a subject that students either really, really love or they really, really dislike for the reasons that Mr. Stokes gave at the end of his video, that oftentimes it feels like there isn't a right answer, and that is so frustrating for some people, but some students love that. And so teaching English, especially teaching the literary portion of things, is really beautiful to see students grapple with when there's not a right answer to give about something. And so we just get to sit in the beauty of the literature and embracing the beauty of language. And that is like the whole point of why we read what we read. The point of reading is not to, okay, like I need to figure out exactly what this symbol means, and I need to understand why the author said these specific words in the way that they did. Instead, students just get to enjoy a really wonderful story and think about why they enjoy stories. And so just throughout this year, I've already seen students coming to terms with like, oh, I can just enjoy something because it's beautiful. And that's like a good thing for me to enjoy. Just like the second week that one student was in class, he was like, hey, Miss Morrissey, by the way, I've been wondering, why do we have to have English class? Like, what's the point of reading books? And I was like, we're going to talk about that all year. That's a great question. There will never be like a one answer that will answer all of your questions. So I think that the way the students respond to my class, at least, is just grappling with having to understand like, oh, we can just enjoy this because it's beautiful. And then they're also learning how to find like their own, how to find literature that they think is beautiful. So that's how they responded to my class.
Yeah. And then to dovetail on that a little bit specifically for the history bit, is like whenever you really dive into history, you're studying, much like in literature, a story, and being able to place yourself in the shoes of whoever we're reading about, be it in literature or in history, and the students responding with being able to imagine themselves in another person's life. And it's like, realize one of the things that is really cool about ancient history is whenever the student realizes that, wait a second, this may have been thousands of years ago, but they're still people. They still act like us. They're still real people with real problems, and seeing that development throughout history and the students going on that journey with them is just wonderful to see their response there.
I'll speak to nature studies. So actually I've asked students what they like about nature studies, and they love the experiments, the hands-on experiments. And what they love about that is they're going beyond just reading a science textbook. They're going beyond just learning certain scientific principles and learning about different scientists. They're actually learning by doing in the lab. And you know, when I'm teaching class, my students will say, Miss Block, are we going to the lab today? They just get so excited, and it's awesome to see that as a teacher, how much joy they're finding in learning. So.
So I'm new here. I've only been here since January. So I don't have a whole lot of experiences with these kids to talk about. I think what I will mention is Miss Block and I have an experiment planned. We're going to set up a simple series resistive circuit, and the students are going to make measurements with a digital voltmeter. And then after science class, they're going to bring those measurements to math class, and we're going to talk about Ohm's law and the equation that predicts what it is that they were going to measure. And then we'll see how math can actually be applied to something. And I know when I was young, I thought math was kind of dry and I wasn't excited about it. But I was really interested in electronics. And once I found a use for mathematics, then I was really excited about it. And I've loved it ever since. So I'm hoping these students will have the same experience I did.
Great, thank you, everyone. It looks like there's a couple of questions that are coming into the chat here. One is, what time does drop-off start in the morning? And from a parent perspective, I'm pretty sure it's at 7:45. But Tim, Laura, is that correct? Awesome.
Yep, the kids start coming in and the school day starts at 8 o'clock.
And one of the things that impressed me the most when I started as a parent is almost every single day, Mr. DeLora standing out there, sun, rain, snow, whatever, outside, helping kids out of their cars, walking into class, saying good morning to everybody, available right there for parent questions. It's incredible. I mean, as a parent, that was awesome to see that the headmaster of the school was out there, especially lately in the freezing cold, just available to parents, to families every single day like that. So that was awesome. All right, next question here. Looks like there was mention that students go to mass 4 times a day. I thought the whole school went every day. Anyone want to answer the frequency of going to mass and adoration by grade?
Ms. Morrissey?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the upper school, we recognize that the students are taking more ownership of their faith, and it's becoming more intrinsically important for them to attend Mass every day. And they can also just understand the beauty of the Mass in a particular way that we're able to foster in the religion classes that we have. And so in the upper school, students go 4 days a week. We don't have Mass on Mondays. And then we also have adoration every Friday, and we go to confession once a month. And the whole school does adoration and confession once consistently. But the lower school, so grades kindergarten through 4th grade, they go on Wednesday and Friday with the whole school. And I do know that, I mean, just going twice a week is really beautiful. I didn't start doing that until college. So I know that the students are benefiting a lot from just the consistency of Mass that they get to participate in.
Thank you.
Just one addition, the 3rd and the 4th also go on.
That's right, they do.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Thank you.
And on Monday, we have an all-school assembly first thing in the morning. And that's an opportunity it ends up being at least a half an hour where we gather together and really begin the week in prayer together, focusing on the virtue of the term and being a real visible community together, kindergarten through 8th grade. And different grades take responsibility for prayer or presentation. And so we use that time in a special way that is spiritual as well. And then Mass Tuesday through Friday.
Okay. And it looks like then the next question here is, do you feel the students are well prepared for high school, specifically Father Gabriel Richard, after completing 8th grade here?
Well, I can offer that. I invite any of the teachers to speak up too. the beauty and power of a classical education is that it teaches a child not only a body of knowledge, but it teaches them critical thought. It teaches them how to think, not just what to think, but what constitutes reasonable thought. And they're given skills where they're able to see into the deeper issue at play. You know, and all of our teachers in different ways were alluding to within their subject matter to that idea of equipping a child to be able to ask questions and see more deeply so that they're able to just be more aware and in a sense more intelligent in understanding and responding to the world. That is a huge skill. And you can put a standardized test in front of them. You can put a textbook in front of them. You can put a fellow student in front of them. And that skill equips them in all of those different situations to exercise a power and a perception and a readiness to respond with a certain clarity and depth that is unusual. And that power is what allows a student to be ready to go to FGR or any high school and do very well.
Just adding on to that, I did my student teaching in a high school classroom, and I was also a TA in an undergraduate level college classroom. And I think that the level of questioning that we encourage of the students at St. Thomas is equal, if not better, than both of those classrooms that I have been a part of in the past. The curiosity that these students have is just through the roof. It is incredibly beautiful. And if you have that curiosity and that ability to ask very strong questions, then you are absolutely ready to do pretty much anything in high school. Not to mention like the level of difficulty of the text that we're reading. The students are learning how to grapple with difficult things and knowing how to persevere through those difficult, like those challenging texts and those difficult questions. That also sets them up for success.
Thank you. All right, next question is, at what grade do students start switching classes, going to more than kind of just one class, comprehensive curriculum in one grade? And is that beginning in 6th grade? Is that correct? Because Mr. Snyder, you have 5th grade entirely.
Yes.
So
This year, 5th grade is its own self-contained classroom where they're with me for all of the core subjects. And then starting in 6th grade is whenever they're switching between Miss Morrissey, Miss Block, and Mr. Stokes. What that'll look like in the coming years is a question for Mr. Delora, though. But as far as this year goes, yes, the 5th grade is in its own self-contained classroom with me throughout the majority of the day.
Great. Yeah, and yeah, Mr. Delora, is that the model then for upper school that we're looking at for the coming year as well?
So actually, we're discussing now being able to take our currently combined 6th and 7th grade class, splitting that so that there would be a separate 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classroom. And then departmentalizing the core subjects across those 4 grades. So Mr. Snyder would teach the history in all 4 of those grades. Ms. Morrissey would teach the English in all 4 of those grades. Ms. Block, the science, and our math teacher, Mr. Stokes is with us this year, would teach all 4 math classes. So that will allow them to focus in their content area that they specialize with in terms of their interest and preparation. And within our current arrangement, each one of them would also take a homeroom and the religion class for that homeroom.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that as our enrollment has continued to grow over the past several years. It's been really great to see those combined classes splitting out into individualized classes. And so just if anyone was unaware, we started out, I think 4 years ago, we started with 60 students, the first year of classical education here at St. Thomas. That had then expanded to 70, then 84, now 100, and that's 100 plus 30 in preschool as well. So that obviously is a very positive trend. So it's really a blessing as the enrollment continues to grow and those classes are able to branch out and have more specialized learning for each grade. So looks like the next question here as well is basically about the difficulty level of 7th grade math. So is the 7th grade math quite challenging?
Yeah, so I'll answer that. So we definitely try to have a balance between a healthy challenge for the students and then ensuring that we're not, going too fast and that everybody's keeping up. Students, if they're falling behind, we love to give extra help during, if they need extra help during lunch or recess or before class. We're really, really supportive here at St. Thomas, and we want to see every student succeed, and we want to ensure that every student is on track. So I would say that we strive to have that healthy balance between too easy and too difficult. So.
All right. Any other questions before we wrap up the Q&A time here? All right. Laura, would you like to say a few words about kind of next steps for parents who are interested in enrollment and best way for them to get in touch with you and find out more?
Oh, sure. Well, thank you everyone for coming to our open house. It has been a huge, huge success. I've been here for going on 20 years, and this is our most successful open house we've ever had by far. So many new parents coming to see what we're all about. And even though we've spent almost an hour talking about our upper school, there's so much more to learn all about our specials, the Latin, Spanish, band, choir, studio arts, our sports department. So I invite everyone to get in contact with us and set up an appointment to speak with our headmaster, Tim DeLora, to find out all about all the other things that St. Thomas can offer. And he'll take you on a tour and you'll meet the kids, the teachers in person. And I am sure that you'll have a wonderful experience. Our phone number is 734-769-0911. All the contact information is on our website, and I look forward to meeting you all. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Laura. Tim, any concluding words you'd like to share?
Just want to thank our teachers again and parents for joining us. Again, there's a special sense that we're all involved in something bigger than ourselves here, that the Lord is doing something very special and important for our individual students, for our families, and for our culture, that classical Catholic education really is a signpost of the Lord's mercy and power for our times. And so we're excited to be able to open our doors this way and invite other parents that are being called into this larger work, because it really is a partnership. And as parents, you being the primary educators of your children, if you feel called to allow us the honor of partnering with you, please do so. The Lord is at work here, and if he's calling you here, we want to say yes with you. So God bless you. Thank you being a part of our day.
Thank you, everyone, so much. God bless you. Thank you for taking the time to come listen to us. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.